Oh, good morning. What?
My partner had to show you all that he was drinking his cocoa.
You know, I told you before, right, that this drink, I mixed the cocoa, pure cocoa powder, by the way.
Cocoa powder?
Yeah, pure cocoa powder.
Yeah.
I mix it with honey into a paste, right? Then I put the hot water. Oh, God, it is magical.
Good morning. My name is Alero Edu. Go on.
Oh, yes. All right.
Cocoa in hand.
You got yours?
That's his name.
Hope you got yours. So, where are we? Hope you got yours. Pure cocoa with honey. No brands. By the way, the cocoa is Nigerian, just saying.
Good
morning.
That's the only way to get this country going. Drink Nigerian, eat Nigerian, wear Nigerian.
I say that because about as at 5, 6, almost 10 years ago, I did a bit of a study because I am interested in honey. And I was trying to find out how much honey we consume in Nigeria and how much we produce. This must be about 2016, 2017, 2018, thereabouts. And I found out that we produce 16,000 tons of honey as a nation every year. Guess how much we consume? 350,000 tons annually.
350.
That's at about almost 10 years ago.
So we're consuming more now.
Possibly.
Because
and that
people
figure,
believe...
by the way, that figure is from the Federal Ministry of Agriculture. And these people that determine what goes out standard, is it standard? Export Promotion Council.
NEPC.
Yes.
Because now more people believe in what honey does to your body, you know, as opposed to sugar. So I'm sure more people are drinking, taking honey.
Google honey with cocoa. Your life will not remain the same again.
This honey and cocoa.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I hope you have your cocoa.
Or if you prefer cocoa.
That's fine too.
It's okay.
That's fine too.
So, that's that about that.
Yes, this thing about the protests in the course of the week.
Before we go to that protest.
Okay.
How easy was it for you to get here this morning?
Oh, it was not easy at all. Yes. Lagos State. I mean, I don't understand what is going on. You give us an advisory, and then we get on the road and find something entirely different.
I don't know if you also have that advisory where you're told the roads that are going to be accessible.
Here we go. Dated February 10th, signed by the Honorable Minister Oluwaseun Oshiemi. Closed routes. Various roads, including Funshaw Williams Avenue, that's Western Avenue, Ikorodu Road, Third Mainland Bridge, Dolphin Road, Falomo Roundabout, Lekki Bridge, Akinyade Shola.
Full stop.
Ikorodu Road was not closed, by the way.
As at this morning.
Because I had a headache wondering, so if Ikorodu Road is closed, how am I going to get to the studio? Do I go through Agege Motor Road and find my way to the expressway, or what do I do?
And this is the official one, by the way, not just from any individual. It is from the organizers as well as LASMA. So that is it there.
I mean, Third Mainland Bridge closure. Closed from 12 midnight until the marathon ends. They're not running both ways.
I think this one actually says one side, that there's an inward or is it outbound. One of them, it says...
I came on the Ikorodu Road and both sides had traffic. They were open.
Okay.
The one that shocked me was we got to Marua this morning and we were diverted to go inside Phase 1 to come out at Phase 1 main gate. And there had been nothing like that on any advisory telling us that the marathon was extending to Lekki. Nobody was aware of that. Apparently, there are 2 marathons.
Oh, really?
The 10-kilometer starting from Lekki to Atlantic City, and the 42-kilometer starting from National Stadium, Surulere to Atlantic City. So if they're starting their race from Surulere Stadium, what has the Ikorodu Road got to do with the price of meat?
It's actually quite costly, especially because there's no market on the Ikorodu Road that I know of.
When we were diverted to Apapa Road, to Oyingbo and all that, yeah, so we saw meat on the way here. I mean, why can't this marathon happen on a Sunday?
Let me even ask you, when was the last time you went through any of those routes in Lagos?
Well,
it's been a while
in my
ago.
other life.
Well,
in my other life.
You needed that experience.
Because I was seeing the Oyingbo Bridge for the first time.
Exactly. It
was a good tour.
Exactly.
Lagos.
But, seriously speaking, God forbid that there is an emergency, dear Lagos State government, what will have happened can only be imagined. Oh. And, we often talk about public-private partnership. This marathon is a public-private partnership, and you have people from all over the world come for this marathon. So we believe that we want to celebrate any city in Nigeria that is doing the right thing. So now we have Lagos Marathon, right? When are we going to have Kano Marathon or Zamfara Marathon or Abuja Marathon? Is there an Abuja Marathon? I think so. I don't know.
And he takes a sip of his cocoa.
Yeah, you wanted to talk about the protests?
Yeah, the protests. I was quite amused when I saw Mr. Nonoga saying that they were sponsored and all that. And my thoughts were, a hungry man doesn't need to be sponsored to scream that he's hungry. I mean, because the hunger in the land is so much. I was happy when I heard the Speaker of the House say, oh yes, we hear you, we feel your pain, but feeling our pain is one thing, but doing something about it is another thing entirely. People are hungry.
Hello. I heard the governor of Niger State as well saying something like, we're going to prioritize our people.
And he has said that they should not sell food to anybody outside the state.
Prioritize our people. So that, and that's, there are two ways to look at that, right? Lagos, Kwara, and I think one other state, they are partnering on food production and all of that. Lagos has a massive, rice processing, whatever, by the way.
Okay, Lake Rice.
I understand the perspective of the governor of Niger State. The one way I choose to look at it at this moment is one governor is saying we are going to prioritize our people. So that there are no protests in Niger State. That, in my opinion, is what the chief security officer of a state should do. In my opinion. Whether or not it now trickles down to indeed get to the people without political considerations and all that, that's another conversation altogether. But that priority matter that one governor, because I have been complaining, why should we be shouting on the, it's not, the federal government has its job cut out. But we have state governors for a reason. And the federal government...
What are they doing?
I say this all the time, Alero, this federal government has citizens. Guess what the state governments have? Indigenous. They live there, residents. They pay taxes in your city. Right? So if any tax is going to, in your state, and even in your cities and rural areas, we should look at the stats about Nigeria. It's not very, very pleasing.
And in the middle of all this, government insists that there is no food shortage.
The data, Alero, data says there is no food shortage.
Okay, what's the point of having it, making it available, and people can't afford to buy it?
You are still not getting the English. There is a difference between data...
Excuse me, I don't go to school.
There is a difference between data and reality in most cases.
It's all right.
And the earlier the federal government and the authorities, various authorities, especially at the states, realize this and smell the coffee, the better for everyone. So we have had those cases in a number of states in the country. God forbid that this thing should spread. And I am hoping that the governors themselves are aware of the realities. They are getting the data. They are getting the feelers from the various DSS offices in their various local governments all over the country. We don't want this.
Governors drive around. They can see the faces of the people.
Can they?
I assume that they
Oh,
can.
well, please. Assumption is the lowest level of knowledge my pastor would
Sorry,
tell
no
me.
vex. Sorry, no vex.
Well, ideally they should, because you campaigned with these people, to them. You went to them in their various localities. Edo State governorship elections campaign has started sort of, and people are going, the governorship candidates are going all over. I have been to every local government. What did you see? And what is going to be different from...
I can tell you what he saw. Hungry people.
No, are you sure?
Positive.
No, I'm going to do this for you. I was at one fundraiser for a politician some 15, 20 years ago. This guy was from Ogun State. I think it was a senatorial something. And this guy was crying. And I thought, yeah. Next thing I saw, the guy was laughing. I said, eh? So this is not drama.
Actor. Oscar performance.
So this thing is drama. The guy was just laughing and playing with everybody. I said,
But you were crying just now?
he was, I said, he? So, that's what I do for you. So, people are hungry, the realities are right there stuck in our faces, but it's not all bad. I don't think it's all bad. It's just, let's give, what Mr. Onanuga said, I think that we should be able to communicate.
That word again. You say it almost every Saturday.
Because you want to get your child to do anything. You don't just order these days. Sit down there.
You negotiate.
You sit down there. Why?
Why?
Your days of not arguing with anybody, those days are gone.
Why?
Mommy, why? Why? Eh? And when you hear that word, you say,
Are you talking to me? It used to be because I say so, but it doesn't wash anymore.
So if that's the whatever it is with our kids at home, social media is a leveler. They will call you out the way you want. Please don't go to what they did with Ghana and South Africa on social media. Please don't even go there.
No, that's not where I'm going. Since you mentioned social media, I mean, what's his post? Well, Femi Gbajabiamila is calling for social media in Nigeria to be regulated. Of course, he's being roasted on social media. On the same social media, he's being roasted.
Well, there are two ways to look at that thing, but I think it goes back to that word, communication. Let's talk to people the right way. Let them know that there is an ownership, a co-ownership. The president has also been speaking about values, Minister of Information and National Orientation, talking about values and all those things. But when we see the leaders behaving in a particular way, it is only natural for people to go in a particular direction.
There was something on X, and one person tweeted, Honorable former Speaker, please go and regulate inflation, regulate dollar rate, foreign exchange rate, regulate poverty, then you can come and start regulating social media.
Well, as the president said...
I can't find the tweet, so I'm going to read out the person's name.
As the president said, we asked for the job, don't pity us.
True. Mr. President, I hail you, sir. Please, carry on with the job.
So what is on our
Just give us food to eat. Make sure that we have food to eat.
Oh, well, we are working on it.
Oh, yes. NLC, TUC, Labour is planning something. Of course. Something is in the offing.
So you also know that on the same social media, NLC and all of that, they are roasting. People are roasting the NLC themselves.
Yes, because people are not sure of their motives anymore.
Yeah, so...
Policy tools for curbing inflation. That's where we start this morning.
Especially that food matter. Insecurity. Matters arising. That's the next conversation.
I mean, if we didn't talk about this, we'd get roasted for the next 1 year. Super Eagles in AFCON final. It's happening tomorrow. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna watching the movie while the football match is going on.
That makes two of us. Because we know of at least 3 people who dropped dead watching the match.
A doctor sent me a circular that is making the rounds in the medical sector.
Yes.
If your heart has question mark,
I received it. Don't watch the match. That's true.
Lifestyle today, for God's sake, let's begin to give some attention to the children. Healthy music for children. That's what we're talking about.
Oh, yeah. Remember the lady who came and said that fetuses
They
hear what you said, and they listen to music as well and all that. Okay. Then we end with the Artist of the Week segment, as is usual on Sunrise.
And all I can say is it's a human being. So do me a favor, grab your own cup of cocoa and or cocoa, whichever one you prefer, and we'll be right back. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Let's talk about policy tools or policy interventions that the federal government can explore for curbing inflation. You know, one of the things that we've spoken about the most in the course of the week is a hike, increasing cost of living, the highest of which is food prices. So as the cost of living continues to rise in Nigeria, in fact, some say it has hit a record high. Many people are struggling to make ends meet. Food, fuel, utilities, rent. The price of everything is increasing and wages are stunted. So,
Stock.
yeah. This is naturally putting a lot of pressure on families, individuals, and all who are now finding it very difficult to afford the basics. Let's jump right into the conversation this morning. We have two gentlemen, but one of them is here with us in the studio. Mr. Yinka Ogunbi is President, Association of Corporate Treasurers of Nigeria, ACTN. He's also a policy analyst. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
First of all, I'm sure you are no stranger to all of the issues that have been raised in the country. What do you make of it? Do you think, first of all, tell us what you make of it? The high cost of living and how we got here in the first place. Could it have been avoided?
Yes, the answer is yes. It could have been avoided if we had done the right things at the right time.
Right time being?
Do it on time. You know, we always say that the best time to do anything is now. The next best time is, tomorrow. The problem we've had is that we've not implemented the right policy to secure food security. We've not had the right set of coordination of government policy. We've not had that sense of speed, that there's fire on the mountain, run, run, run. So what you find is that when you combine everything together, there's a whole lot of things to be discussed, from the lack of investment in, the critical sectors, agriculture, oil and gas and everything. So when you put everything together, you'll see that we didn't get here by mistake or magic. We got there by deliberate misstep and not taking the right decisions at the right time.
You said that we didn't put the right policies in place to secure, to ensure that we do have food security. So what kind of policies should we have put in place which would have prevented us getting to where we are now?
Well, the first thing is a proper assessment of what is causing the problem. And so when you look at inflation, for instance, the biggest component of our inflation, which we call the consumer price index, is food inflation. The last figures released by the NBS said that we are, inflation is like 29% or thereabout. Food inflation is 34%. So the biggest chunk of it is food. And so it's a no-brainer that if you can deal with food, the inflation will come down. And so the question is, what did the government do? Or what did the people who are the policy, in charge of policy, do to ensure that food prices were stabilized? So, and then we begin to look at the policies that they put in place and they didn't put in place. Were there effort towards ensuring that, there was some kind of control on pricing? Was there distribution infrastructure put in place to make sure that food can get from easily from the farms to the market, where there are efforts put in place to help subsistent farmers. So what we saw was a lot of noise, anchor borrowers, stuff, but there was no synergy, there was nothing.
Let me punctuate you for a bit. The question my colleague here is asking is what policies should have been put in place. Permit me to go back a little, and I'm sure both of you can also relate. When I was growing up, at some point, I don't know when, what year, but definitely was before I got into secondary school, my dad had called my younger brother and I, guys, the cost of milk is rising, so we have to get substitutes. This was in the 70s, and we may have to get substitutes. And he said that we told him, don't worry, Dad, whatever you say is fine. So price increase started in the 70s. In the government of Shagari in the Second Republic, he came up with what they called austerity measures, all in the interest of trying to address some of these issues. When that government left, the government that followed it, I think, well, not the Buhari government that I remember, but Babangida government came up with all kinds, first year exchange market, second year exchange market, structural adjustment program, and all of those things. So what policies, and I'm talking about 30, 40 or so years ago, what policies should have been put in place that would have helped us to stem the tide, even if its prices will increase, not this bad?
I think we're asking the wrong question.
Oh.
In terms of what policy. It's policies, yes. But before you get to policy, you have to ask what is causing it. Okay. It is when you answer that question that you can then say, what policy do I need to address? So the issue here is, what is the cause of our inflation? All right? When you think critically, at it, when you look at it, you realize that our inflation is cost push and not demand pull. And so when you see what has been done over a long period of time, over the last 2 years, there's been a lot of effort at curbing inflation from a demand pull side, that is managing the demand. And that's where you see a lot of monetary policy efforts by the CBN to tighten and curb money supply. That's what they've been doing. But it has not worked. We will know if it worked because other countries, their inflation is going down. Ours keeps going up. And that tells you that it is not just those monetary policy tools that are aimed to limit demand, but we must look at what is causing cost. So anything, the policies that you should be looking at are policies that will make for cost reduction for food. And the way to do it is, how can we increase production of food? That's the first thing.
Well, Mr. Olubi, there isn't much that anybody can do in the light of the fact that there is insecurity. The farmers would love to go to their farms, but they cannot go to their farms and produce more food. So what policy can correct that? Can you just make a policy, okay, kidnappers, Boko Haram, we ban you? You can't do that.
You're right. You're right. Absolutely. The subject of security is a national thing. It's in the purview of the federal government, and it is something that is very much linked. But that's just one subset of the problem. Nigeria is so vast that even if you say that you have this insecurity in the northeast or the north central, you still have a vast part of this country that is not affected. So food production should not be a problem. The question is, how have we helped the farmer, whether it's at large scale or subsistence level, to produce? And then how do we help him to store? How do we help him to transport those goods quickly to the market? Those are the three key indices. The question is, if there's no policy that addresses those things, food prices will keep going up. So yes, security is essential, it's right. I mean, it's the first thing that you have to look at, but beyond that, we also have to look at other infrastructural and systemic issues.
I like the fact that you just talked about infrastructure now, because I was going to ask a question around that. I remember part of the initiatives. I go back in time because if we did some things that were working at some point, why did we truncate them, and how can we quickly circumvent those things? I remember back in time, there was such an agency or whatever of government as Directorate for Food, Roads and Rural Infrastructure, DFRI. The intention of that was to ensure that road infrastructure, particularly into the rural areas, was okay, so that food can be easily transported. That was in the 80s. I also know that in the previous one or two governments, there was an initiative of, I think, the World Bank with some other partnerships called RAMP, Rural Access something, talking about building rural roads. Okay, I think it was the Fashola government that actually led that among some other things. And they did quite a number of rural roads all over the nation at the time. So, is it a problem of sustainability, or a problem of resources, or a problem of maintenance? Because without those infrastructure, the policies themselves can't move an inch.
You're absolutely right. It's more of everything. It's more of the political will first to do what is right.
Those words again. Political will.
It's the political will.
It wearies me.
You just hit my partner's boil.
Oh, really?
It wearies me. It wearies me. Because the reason I say it wearies me is there are rules, there are laws. In the house, you don't steal. In a house, you don't lie. Now, someone lies, and you're asking me that you need a political will to scold the child? Or am I being too simplistic?
You're being idealistic. let me put it that way. You're being idealistic because you are denying a very important facet of our political economy. That the fact is that before you even talk about economic policy, you need to settle the political question. So, if no matter the brilliance of your mind, or no matter the billions of your idea, if the majority of the populace decide that it is some dude, that represents area boys that they want to elect as president, that's it. You have to work with that, and that is where your policy comes in. And so that's where when we tell people get involved in political activity, whatever. Political life? To some extent, yes. To the extent to which I can. I'm not necessarily, a very politically buoyant person, but what I try to do is I try to add my voice where I can within my sphere of influence to political thought, to shape the narrative and make people understand that certain things are very important. Certain questions must be asked. If you don't, what you will do is that you will elect people into office that will shape policy for you.
Whether you like it or not.
Whether you like it or not. And then you have to just go by the policy that they bring.
Okay, Mr. Kunubi, do you think that there has been enough investment in agriculture in this country? Bearing in mind that every graduate who leaves school wants to work in an office where he can put a tie on and a suit.
Yes. The answer is no. And like I said, I will go back in time because I studied in the 80s. I came out of secondary school in 1987. And I remember then. Why are you looking at me like
there's something called active listening. So I'm not saying you are old, don't worry.
I mean, in political talk, I'm very young. And I realized, and then back then in school, every student had a plot, a small patch of land that you have to cultivate, and you are scored on it. You are scored on it. So, and everybody, we learned that from secondary school, that agriculture was, was very important. And guess what? We would take that knowledge back to our gardens at home. And we will grow tomatoes, stuff that we could grow, at the back of our house.
Is that still in the curriculum today?
No, it's not. And this is where, when you're talking about the investment, all right? So the first investment for me has to be in the investment of education. We have kind of walked away from this culture and education of growing things to actually renting things. So, I sit in Abuja and I wait for the FAC meetings to distribute 1.6 trillion, and that's it. I don't add value to anything. Whatever I produce, I just ship. I don't think of processing, I don't think of anything. And that is where the investment has to come in. For us, the government has to look at it. And when I say government here, I don't mean the federal government. I also mean the subnationals.
Okay.
They also have to look at how do we invest in educating the minds? How do we invest in infrastructure for farmers? How do we help people grow, add value, sell, and probably export?
Do you think the situation we're in now is going to guide us to think like that, so that we can improve our circumstances? I mean, for me, right now, we don't even have a choice. But do you think we're going to do that as a nation?
I'm the optimist, and I don't want to say that we're, heading in the wrong direction or whatever. I believe in the drive of the Nigerian to do things if his energy is channeled into these things. We've seen for the past few days how Nigerians have come out because of the super egos. That is one big energy. And what is causing that? A bunch of players in the field kicking the red leather ball has inspired a nation to say, we want to be patriotic. I watched a video the other day and I saw, these ladies in a ladies' hostel, and they were passionate, very passionate. And at some point they were singing the national anthem.
And the national pledge.
And the pledge. So the question is, how do we galvanize that kind of passion to say, okay, you know what, Operation Feed the Nation, the way Obasanjo did it the last time. Or we've declared an emergency on food security. And we have everybody go and start farming something. Go back to your farm or go start something. And we need to have that sense of, look, there's a problem, there's fire on the mountain.
And there's something to do.
Run.
Let's see if we can, get some solutions in. Following you on Twitter, some of your responses or reactions to some policy initiatives of the federal government through the CBN is something. Now, there is a concern that has been expressed multiple times by a particular patriotic viewer of this program, saying that, look, for as long as the CBN continues to pump Naira into the economy, we are really looking for trouble. Let me look at his message and read it out. He said, inflation is simply the expansion of money supply. I don't know if you agree with him. Failure to correctly define the problem has led other countries to Venezuela and Zimbabwe. Now he says this: as long as the CBN continues to supply the Naira into the economy, the value can never be stabilized. Do you agree with him?
Yes or no? Traditionally, central banks all over the world have managed inflation through two things, using two tools: interest rates and money supply tightening. That's a traditional way that they've always done it. And and if we look at what the CBN has done over the last 2 years, they've been doing that. They've raised MPR by almost 750 basis points, from 11-point-something% to 18.75 now. And I can tell you, if I had this crystal ball, that in the next MPC meeting, they will raise the MPR. So they are doing what they are doing not just that, also, they are also mopping up liquidity. There's a lot of issuance, and they are mopping up liquidity. So they are limiting Naira supply, to try to tighten inflation. But it has not worked. And that's the point I'm trying to raise, that it has not worked. It's not because it is not the right approach. The CBN has to do that. That's the only tools the CBN have. But there has to be a synergy between monetary policy and fiscal policy. There are some things the CBN cannot do. It has to be done by the government. Infrastructure, food security, supporting farmers, and all that, providing storage facility, working on the what you call the strategic reserves, things like that. That is the purview of fiscal policy. And so if there is no synergy between these two branches of government working in collaboration and synergy to make sure that we're targeting inflation, it has to come down. The CBN will just be doing what they're doing.
Do you see that collaboration happening?
In the beginning, I didn't, but with recent developments, I'm seeing that. I'm beginning to see that there's a lot more coordination going on, and I can only hope that that coordination leads to some sense of order. I'll give you an example. For instance, during the last interview that the CBN governor gave, he talked about intervention, and he said we do not have the luxury of failed interventions again. And what was the biggest intervention we had the last time? Anchor borrowers, whatever. What happened to it? What happened to the money? The money was supposed to be for farmers, but it was done by the CBN. It's not the CBN's work. That's not the CBN's job. That is the Ministry of Finance. That is fiscal policy.
So that should have been done through a BOI or something.
Exactly. That should have been done, by the fiscal authorities. And what the CBN governor is saying is, we are going to focus on our core strength. We will leave intervention for those who should do that. And that tells me that there's some manner of communication going on between them.
Now, you talked about coordination.
Yes.
How about collaboration? In the previous government, in the wake of COVID-19, they came up with the Economic Sustainability Plan.
Yes.
And part of that Economic Sustainability Plan was the federal government making a declaration that in collaboration with the states, will ramp up food production. Now, even the president in recent time, this president in recent time has said we need to ramp up food production.
Yeah.
That is what I would call an announcement,
yes.
What we call it, just a statement. Is there a system that can support it? The states have the land. The federal government has a federal Ministry of Agriculture. The president said, I think about the same time he came into power, that look, we have secured X number of hectares, 500,000 hectares of land or something, that, in Nigeria. They have to have done that with the states.
Yes.
Do you see that collaboration, not just coordination? Do you see that collaboration happening between the federal government and the state governments in a way that within the next 6 months or so, we can begin to see some light?
To be honest with you, no. Maybe I always like to just give the benefit of the doubt. Maybe there's some level of, conversation going on and it's not yet in the public view. But to say that it is clear and obvious that when we look at what is going on, we can see that collaboration. I can't. What I can see is at the federal level, there is coordination. That I can see that at the federal level. So you find that the Ministry of Finance, you can see the synergy between the Minister of Finance, and the CBN government. You could see that there's the synergy. They are working together. But that's at federal level. But what is the collaboration going on at federal and subnational level? I can't see that. And I'm pretty sure that if you ask, any objective observer, they will say the same thing. Maybe they are having this conversation at the back end and somehow we will get to know, but we can't say it. And it's important for us to be able to move forward because Nigeria's economy is not a federal economy.
Absolutely.
It's a national economy.
So how about the National Economic Council? Do you see a job for the National Economic Council here, being that, of course, governors sit at that table?
I mean, the National Economic Council should be the very seat of national economic policy in Nigeria. But it's like it's almost like a party they go to, every now and then to just high five each other and say hi, how are you? I've not seen you for a few days. The issue is this: Nigeria's income, all right, is a national income. It's paid into a federation account. It is divided by federal, state, and local governments, all right? And everybody has a part. So if you are talking education, for instance, now everybody looks at the federal government. It's not a federal government problem for education in Nigeria. It's a subnational issue. But because we have a big brother called the federal government, everybody looks towards the federal budget. But the real income of Nigeria is not the income of the federal government of Nigeria, of the federal income. It's the income of the federal government, the states, all the IGRs put together. That's what makes up our national income. And the NEC, should be that place where we have this broad vision about what we want to achieve, where do we want to go, what is the GDP we are striving forward, and then that trickles down, and when you find that that's not the case, you kind of just wonder when we will get our acts together.
So what should we... Okay, go ahead.
My partner talks about communication all the time. So how can communication and transparency by policymakers help to manage public expectations so that these policies will actually work?
The communication is one of the key elements of, ensuring that you are able to get the kind of response that you need. You can't
buy in sometimes.
Yes, buy in. And that's what we speak about. I mean, I represent the ACTN, and one of the things that we had constantly communicated to the CBN and some of the agencies of government is the fact that communicate with us. We will give you feedback. We will tell you what is going on. You need our buy-in, for some of the policies. Because when you give a policy, for instance, at the CBN level, it affects the banks. But, you are producing policy. We are the ones consuming the policy. Mm-hmm. So I am the one that is going to tell you that thing I'm consuming is giving me cramps. All right? And it's hurting me here and all that. And so communication is very, very key. And I'm happy that it's one of the things that the CBN governor mentioned, that they are going to do better in communication. The last administration, I'm sorry, if I score them in terms of communication, I'll score them -0.
Ouch.
Because they were doing a lot of things, but they had poor communication.
Unilaterally.
So we also have to differentiate between real communication and just propaganda. So, sometimes, what comes out as communication is not real communication. It's not effective communication. That's what I'm trying to remember. It's not effective communication. It's just you trying to okay, we're doing well, we're fine. No. People need to understand the policy. The tweet you were talking about, the thread I did on the CBN policy, I did a summary, a wrap-up, a recap of it. Before then, all manners of misinformation was flying everywhere. And the reality is that if you don't fill up the space, the communication space with the real information, people will go with anything.
Speculate.
So I had to come out on my own to just say, okay, fine, this is a recap. These are all the policy moves of the CBN in the last 2-3 days. This is what it means. These are the implications. And guess what? The response was overwhelming. People were thanking me. I was why are you thanking me? They said, thank you because you broke it down.
Yeah.
You made us understand it. And you made us see that there's a pathway forward. Our institutions, starting from the National Registration Agencies and all the people who my Ministry of Information and all these people tasked with information, they must do better.
I mean, they need to understand the policies. We'll come to that some other time. But talk to the young people. I was having a conversation with some of our colleagues. We were having a conversation with some of our colleagues before this program. The people who are in government today, they were not in government 30 years ago.
Yes.
Those who are in government today will not be in government 30 years from now.
Yes.
In fact, a good number of the people complaining on social media and all now will likely themselves be in government.
Correct.
Speak to the young people. What our body language should be, what our disposition should be to whatever it is that is going on right now. It is looking very hopeless. Food, everybody wants to jackbar, and everything is going high and all of that. In fact,
transportation.
It's like the jackbar noise has come down a little bit because it's costlier now to jackbar. So speak to the young people about this pathway and the kind of engagement that we should be having with all elected people who said, I beg to apply through their votes.
Fantastic. Thank you, Ari, for that question. The first thing the young people need to do is educate themselves about governance, just public sector governance. One of the most frustrating things for me, when I listen to young people, is how uninformed that they are. And sometimes we have to look at it. Maybe our education system, current education system, is not helping with civic education. Maybe. But they need to educate themselves about what is the process of governance. Let's take the issue of getting a bill passed. What's the process like? What's there are public hearings, there's a way that you can push a bill and all that kind of thing. Because a lot of the times, our young people are in the generation of the reactors. They react after something has been done. And then when they are challenged, and the politicians will say, but, we went through the process. And the process, yes, they went through the process. But if our young people understand that first, you need to understand what governance is and what is the process, and how you can take advantage of that process to change policy. I'll give an example. This organization, YAGA, they're a perfect example of how you can shape policy with advocacy, youth advocacy. So first, they need to be educated. Secondly, they need to organize. There's something about youth. It's about energy. It's about idealism. It's about shaping the future. It's, when I talk to my daughter, I have a 21-year-old, and she's always full of ideas. And I was like, Farabale, put down. I used to be at that age. I said, she said, no, your generation has done it. I said, it will soon be our generation. And then we'll see what we do. So they need to be educated. They need to organize. That education helps them to know how you can organize.
Absolutely.
And then how you can take advantage.
Yeah, so many issues to discuss. We definitely have to bring you back to have further conversation, particularly this particular part of youths being informed about the things that need to do. Yinka Ogunubi, President, Association of Corporate Treasurers of Nigeria, and a policy analyst. Thank you so much for your time this morning. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Unfortunately, we're not able to have that other guest, but hey, perhaps another time. We're back right after now. We have another conversation coming. Do stay with us.
Tougher and harder. I believe in the one and only son for Mary Batishe. Oh, Batishe.
Okay.
Thank you for staying with us. No fewer than 172 kidnap cases were recorded across the country in the past 7 months. Wow. This is the figure given by the Inspector General of Police, Mr. Kayode Egbetoku. Just as the Defense Headquarters said troops rescued 116 kidnapped persons in various parts of the country last month. According to data sourced from the National Security Tracker, an initiative of the Council on Foreign Relations and the Armed Conflict Location Event Data Project. Excuse me. People were reported to have been killed by non-state actors. 3,841 people were reported to have been killed by non-state actors, while 4,243 were kidnapped in 2023. These figures are mind-boggling. And you wonder sometimes, what are our security agents doing? But it's good to hear that 116 people were rescued in various parts of the country last month.
And these are even figures that are recorded. There are some that are not.
Many will not be recorded. So we talk about insecurity all the time. Is it that we're not making any headway? We heard the head of the army talking yesterday or 2 days ago about what they were doing about insecurity in the land, and when he said the criminals have no choice. It's either they be killed or they surrender. I mean, all that is very encouraging. But it looks like we need to see some more action so that we can feel safe in our homes and in our cities. To travel around Nigeria is now something that people don't even want to think about. Before you leave home that you want to travel anywhere, you must have thought about it for weeks and weeks on end.
And planned.
To look at this topic with us this morning, is my pleasure to welcome Professor Demola Abbas, Professor of International Law and former head of Security Program, University Institute on Comparative Regional Integration Studies. Good morning, Professor.
Good morning, Alera. Good morning, Ayo. Hope both of you are okay.
Can you please unmute yourself?
Well, he's actually speaking. Well, we'll work on that audio. Yes, good morning, Prof, and thank you for joining us this morning. All of these figures, and I'm pretty sure that you heard my colleague talking about these things. What exactly are we missing? Insecurity is affecting virtually, in fact, let's just say insecurity is a major determinant of the economy. If it's going to rise or fall, it gets there. What could be the gaps that we are missing?
Thank you very much, Ayo, and Alera, thank you. Hope both of you are okay. Well, I'm happy you began by saying we've been here several times. We've talked about it countless times, and we are going to keep on talking about it till the end of the day. But it's a very important question, that what are we missing? Well, let me start answering that question by quickly referring to your last guest. I think you posed not the same question, but something similar to him. And the gentleman was responding, and you were talking about the manufacturing and infrastructure and stuff like that. And I think the gentleman said, look, Nigeria, to paraphrase him, he said Nigeria is a vast country. Even if there is insecurity in one area, there is no insecurity in another area. So the area that doesn't have insecurity should produce. I'm sure you remember that conversation just a few minutes ago. That is one of the things we are missing. That is one of the problems. We have ghettoized Nigeria. We have broken Nigeria into particles so that we think if there's an insecurity in the northeast, so far it's not happening in the south, in the southwest, so we are okay as a country. We've broken the country into compartments. It doesn't work like that. So the first thing we are missing is we don't understand the very intricate nature of security of a country, of a people. If there is insecurity in a part of Nigeria today, to go back to what the gentleman said, if there's an insecurity in Ekiti today, as an example, and you say, well, insecurity is in Ekiti, but there's security in Abeokuta or in Ogbomoso, farmers in Ogbomoso and Abeokuta could be producing. The question is, whatever they produce, their farm produce are going to be sold. Not only in Ogbomoso and Abeokuta, but in far places like Lagos, like Ikorodu, some of them will be shipped to the southeast, south. So if there's no security, if there's security in those areas where they're producing, on which roads are going to transport them? The same road that kidnappers are going to be able to, take them for ransom. Which market are they going to? Where you don't have Security is not just a question of bombs and bullets. I've said this so many times. We have energy insecurity in Nigeria. So you can produce in your farm. You have nowhere to store your product. You have no cooling rooms to store your product. They will rot in. There is no security on the road. There is lack of infrastructure. That is the security on its own. So security should not be seen only in terms of guns and bullets. And that is our problem. We look at security in Nigeria as a question of guns and bullets. Oh, look, let's give another $1 million, another $10 billion to our armed forces. Let them go and buy some more helicopters, some more jet fighters, some more gunships and this and that. You are responding to symptoms. You're not tackling the core causes, what the root causes. And these are not academic theories. These are fundamental things. Nigerians are hungry in a way. Look, the gentleman was saying he left high school in 1987. I left high school in 1985. Not since 85, not since I became a teenager, have I ever seen the level of hunger and depredation that we are witnessing today in Nigeria. Remember, so we are missing, first and foremost, a holistic understanding of what insecurity actually means. That's what. And once we miss on that, then we are missing the imagination, the creativity of mind, of intellect to be able to pattern, sustainable solutions to those problems.
Prof, is there a role that local communities can play in preventing these things that we're talking about? And are they playing those roles now?
Well, look, Alero, the short answer is yes. Because when we talk about insecurity, let's face it, those who are engaging in a lot of nefarious activities, kidnappers, armed robbers, pickpockets, and cults and whatever you have as indices of insecurity in Nigeria, they come from local communities anyway. They're not people. Look, those who constitute kidnapping, robbery and this and that at a different level, like government level, is a different thing. Fella has spoken so much about pen robbers and this and that. You talk about government agencies and this. That's a different thing entirely. But when you're talking about the kind of naked security issues we are talking about, like armed robbery, kidnappers and this and that, yes, they're from local environment. But which local environments are we talking about? The local environments are completely emasculated today by the existential struggles that an average Nigerian faces in our lifetime. Now, you listen to the Honorable Speaker of the House saying yesterday that he feels the pain of the masses. But the question does do politicians in Nigeria really feel the pains of the masses? I serve in a political office, and I can tell you for free that except you are grounded before you get into a political office, except you understand what humanity really means, except you have your head screwed right in the right direction, you can get easily carried away when you enter political offices. So all those things that, we feel the pains of the mass, and they are hot air. They are rhetorical statements that they have to make anyway. But the truth is, they are not feeling what the masses are feeling. You don't feel the pain of the masses by just driving your SUV of 170 million naira in the face of poverty across road. You don't feel this thing when you are going to your village and you have like 2 or 3 armed men guiding you. And whereas, we're in a country now in which, kidnappers and killers feel free to go and take the very symbol of that local community you're talking about. That is our traditional rulers. You then go into them, whether in a lawyer or in a kitty, and you actually kill them. Try to go and tell those people that you feel their pain. You don't feel their pain because that is not going to stop. That is going to continue. It's going to continue because the government is not doing what the government should be doing at this moment. So yeah, the local communities have to play a role, but they are being emasculated by the same existential struggles that Nigerians today face. They don't come from this space. They are from among us. They are the local people. They are your ordinary rulers, people, peasants, farmers, fishermen, and this and that. For goodness sake, what have they got left to hang on to? It's only when you are okay in your own. It's only when you wake up and you have food to eat, you have breakfast, you can guarantee the lunch or dinner, your kids can go to school without being kidnapped. You can go to your farm whatsoever without feeling anybody coming to plunder your farm and come and kill you. Then you can begin to talk about the positive role you want to play as an individual or as an citizen of a particular community, local or national.
Prof, are we missing out on something? And by that I mean, how can technology be leveraged to reduce the level of insecurity that is in the land right now? Is it that we're not taking advantage of technology, or we just don't know how to use it?
Alera, technology, like any other tool you want to use as a people, as a government, is a means to an end. It's not an end in itself. And that's the one thing we have to keep on keeping in our mind. You can procure the best technology in the world. If you do not have sensible, credible, intelligent people driving the technology, you're not going to achieve the result that you have to achieve. It's as simple as ABC. People are going to operate the technology, by the way. They don't operate themselves. People are going to put them in strategic locations that you want to. And people are going to engage those technologies to be able to produce a particular end. The question is, do we even know the end we want the technology to produce? People sit down in their offices and imagine, oh, if I put 500 CCTV cameras in CBD in Lagos, oh, I'm going to be able to tackle insecurity. That is absolute and arrant nonsense. You do not tackle insecurity by flooding Lagos or Abuja or any capital with CCTV cameras, which, and by the way, is a good technology. But the question is, have you even identified where insecurity is coming from? What kind of insecurity is plaguing?
Well, I'm pretty sure that we're going
to deploy technology.
Well, I'm pretty...
Hello?
We were just talking about technology, and technology was trying to play a fast one. If you are back, please go ahead, Prof.
Yeah, so as I was saying, so we need to understand, first we have to be sure in ourselves, so what role do we want our technologies to play? Not just deploying at the end of the day. It's just like deploying human technology. It's just like deploying troops at the end of the day. You can send your troops to a particular place. If you haven't designed, let me give you a very cursory example. In 1994, when there was genocide in Rwanda, you had UN troops, UNMR, in Rwanda. They were on the one hand, on one side of the road, whereas the inter-army genocidaries were annihilating, physically killing people on the other side. Between the United Nations mission, that is the troops in Rwanda at that point in time, on the left side of the road, and the killers on the right side of the road, there was a stretch of the road in between them. On that stretch of the road was an invisible international law that told United Nations people, you cannot cross this particular road and go and stop the killing because that is not your mandate. So the troops were there, and the world was questioning. People were saying, why didn't the UN troops, why didn't the UNMR do anything at that point in time? They were acting according to their mandate. So the mandate was horrible at that point in time, yes, but that was the mandate they've been given. So I'm saying that because I'm saying that is a human technology deployed. So when you put a technology in a place, you must also tell yourself, what role do I want this technology to play, and what end do I want it to achieve? We don't do that. We just make ourselves feel good. Oh, I'm a governor, so I want to buy 500, so they can say when I leave, I flooded this particular city with CCTV. Is that it? Is that what it's going to be doing? No. Now, Nigeria is talking about AI. We shouldn't even be worrying our head too much about AI because the most basic technologies in Nigeria, we have not been able to even use effectively. It's just like at one time we are talking about Nigeria, talking about nuclear, this and that, space. I think for goodness sake, don't worry your head about spaceship, about all these things in Nigeria yet. What we should be dealing with, we've not even figured out the roads to our, a good road to our villages. We're talking about highway to the moon. How? So technologies are not an end in themselves. They are a means to an end. So the first thing is to purify our mind. Our minds are clogged. We are operating like a bunch of clueless people in the country. We are like a bunch of clueless government officials in the country who spend more time, by the way, writing letters to engage Mr. Atiku than to write letters to explain the policies of the government to the people. I'm telling people like Mr. Manuga, what are they doing? You should be explaining your government policies to Nigerians. People keep on asking the question, Asiwaju's or President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed policies working? And I keep defending those policies because I seem to understand why certain policies are there. And I keep telling people that, look, as Nigerians, we have lived too much, too far, too long a borrowed life. No country can be borrowing money and be using 85-90% of it to pay your debt and hope to survive for too long. It doesn't happen.
But when you see, my apologies, Prof, when you now see government officials who helped in borrowing that money, living lavishly, it only goes to, it's only natural for people to be asking all kinds of questions, don't you think?
You're fantastic. You just took that out of my mind, out of my mouth. I was coming there in my next sentence. So I was saying, on the one hand, I spend my energy defending the policy of the government because I could understand what policies mean. That, look, we should do this, we should do that, interest rate and this and that, and blah, 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 blah. If they are followed to the logical conclusion, might be able to get us out of this quagmire. However, people will complain because the same government that is asking us to believe and trust in their policies is being reckless. And that's what I was coming to before you spoke. It's being reckless. You have ministers who are not performing very well. You have those who are stealing money, blue, black every single day. We can see that. You have those who are buying, humongous, cars for themselves and this and that. And we have people who are spending money like no tomorrow at the end of the day. And you're asking yourself, okay, if at this level, I think I can understand certain policies of this government that maybe it has to get worse to get better, that we cannot continue to live the way we are living before. I understand that. But can this government be asking people to trust it when his own functionaries are behaving so recklessly and are not doing what they are supposed to do? No, they have to move from authoritative statements like, oh, we feel the people's pains and this and that. Those are just, I'm sorry to say, nonsensical statement that nobody's going to buy.
Okay.
Stop feeling my pain. Get into my skin and let's stop that pain. Stop me from feeling that pain.
Okay. Well, that's not going to happen in 24 hours. It's going to take a while, but there should be pointers in that direction, leading me to, talk about these things. One of the issues that was raised by our previous guest is the global nature. And by global, I'm talking about the entire ecosystem, the entire Nigerian ecosystem. We don't just factor economic security without looking at some other levels of security. We can't talk about food security without talking about some other levels or kinds or aspects of security. So, Prof, most of the time, and I'm calling attention to this because we've done this for many years, even decades. Most of the time, whenever people have issues, they look at the central government. Meanwhile, we have had, and we still do have, 36 state governments since the Abacha days in Nigeria. Most of the time, when things aren't going in a particular way that Nigerians expect, they are looking at the president, they're looking at the ministers, forgetting that there are governors in the states who seem to be escaping the fire, so to speak. So people talk about the federal government, talk about the National Assembly, talk about Lagos State, in some cases talk about Rivers State. And what we have seen over the years is that those states tend to get better because they are almost always under fire, constantly under fire. So they tinker with their problems and they get better. Things get costlier in those environments, particularly in Lagos and Rivers. But they tend to work on their systems. These things, one way or the other, find a way to contribute to security. What should the state governments be doing? One of the issues that our colleague, our previous guest raised, was that the collaboration between federal government and state governments, he can't see them. Speak to us about security as well. Do you see that collaboration between the federal government and the state government to forestall these insecurity issues that come up from time to time?
Thank you very much. That's a very loaded question, and it brings us back to what we have spent a lot of time talking on this platform, and I've spoken on other platforms. Look, number one, there is a dysfunctional system between the federal system and the state system in Nigeria. Our federalism is very skewed in favor of the federal government, needlessly, I must say. That is always there. Look, you're absolutely right. We focus too much on the federal systems, the president, the ministers, and the National Assembly, and this and that. We have state assemblies, we have state governors, and state governors, by virtue of the Constitution, are the chief security officers of their state. However, most in Nigeria, because of the system we operate, the state government is beholden. It's a poor cousin of the federal government. It's beholden to the federal government. Take, for instance, I'm happy you mentioned Lagos State the other time, and I remember, I think, about 2-3 years ago when there was an issue, I think, in Magodo, and you saw I don't even think it was a commissioner, it was a DP or something like that, talking to the governor of Lagos State at that point in time, I think it was Jide Sanwo-Olu. I think he was talking to a junior in office. Sorry, you are talking to the governor of Lagos State. You are talking to the governor of a state, who, by the way, is the chief security officer of the state. But that will show you that particular incident, which went viral, I remember very well, shows you the kind of mindset that our functionaries have. When you are in the state, as far as security is concerned, you are beholden to the federal, like every other thing, you are beholden to the federal government. For instance, when ENSA happened, I'm sure you are, all of us were around then. I remember I said that on one of the programs. The governor of Lagos State, not only did Buhari fail politically to come down to Lagos State, despite there were reports of killings or no killings, the use of gun and this and that, blah, 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 whatever, our youth were put to the barricade and this and that. The president of Nigeria never for one come down to visit that particular state. Not only did you see that, you then saw the governor of the state doing a report and carrying the report from Lagos State to go and show the president, as if the president does not have television in his own house or didn't watch TV or didn't know what was going on in the country. So that tells you the kind of relationship between the state and the federal. The states are constitutionally emasculated, elevated to the point that they can even hardly breathe. So sometimes you begin to ask yourself a question, what do they do? A commissioner of police in a state, by the way, is not accountable to the chief security officer of the state. That tells you a lot. Is accountable to his own IGP, the Inspector General of Police, who is accountable to his ultimate employer, the Mr. President, who is the Commander-in-Chief of Armed Forces. So you have a lot of problems flowing, in between the relationship between the federal government and the state government. Now, be that as it may, that only goes to the constitutional imbalances that we have today. But that does not mean that the states have no power if they are really willing to be able to address the people. And I'm happy that you said yesterday, a governor did say that he wanted to prioritize his own people. The truth is, most of the state governors do not prioritize the interest of their people in the country. You can hide under the issue of what is it called, state police. I mean, by the way, I am a very strong supporter of state policing. So the whole idea that, when you have state police, they will use them to do this, to regulation, this and that, all those are nonsensical arguments as far as I'm concerned. Elections are rigged anyway in Nigeria, whether you have state police or not. And there is no empirical fact that if you have state police, it's going to get worse. I mean, in other countries, you have some policing up to university level. So, sometimes we like to demonize ourselves as if we are these extraterrestrial beings, that anything that can happen to normal humanity cannot happen to Nigeria. So, I understand there was cynicism, but let's cut ourselves some slack at that point in time. So, back to the question. State governments, if they really prioritize the interests of their people, there's a lot they can do. They call them executive governor, which is redundancy. They are governor, they're executives anyway. They have enormous powers to be able to superintend it. Lagos State, which I served at the point in time, began, Lagos State Security Trust Fund. I served on the board of that trust when I was in government for about 4 or 5 years. That is a remarkable outfit by Lagos State. It's an ingenious outfit. The function of the trust fund at the point in time until today, part of the function is to be able, to galvanize the private sector, especially to contribute towards the part of that institution, which we then use to support policing. I will tell you for free, at a point in time, if you go around Lagos today, you will see most of those cars, they're written on them, courtesy LSSTF, that is courtesy Lagos State Security Trust Fund. That is how a state will partner with the federal government, which controls the police anyway, to make sure that individual problems at your own state level are tackled with your own resources. You don't need to go to proportional change to be able to do that. It only takes creativity of your mind to do that. And I'm happy a lot of states now has begun to, a lot of states have begun to implement that. We have it in Oyo State and so many other states. That is one way in which states can step up. We have Amatekun, and I'm sure other states have the same variation. Now, whether you want to harm such, whatever you call them, paramilitary, whatever you call them, enforcement group, with ammunition whatsoever, is a debate to be had. We need to have that national. But again, the state can genuinely tell the federal government, look, in the Northeast, if I were governors in the northern eastern zone, I would go to the president and say, you are the commander-in-chief of armed forces. I face existential problems in my state. And I need to do ABC. Can we sit and talk about it? Because I have powers in the constitution that call the chief security officer of the state. But sorry, Most of our governors do not behave as chief security officers of their state. They behave as chief accounting officers of the state, whose major interest sometimes is to disburse funds that they hardly account for. And that is very, very damaging.
And I'm hoping that right now that a good number of them are listening to you, Prof, to discuss this. Now, one of the major issues, I'm really glad, there's some kind of synergy between your perspective and that of our previous guest, who is saying, look, we may have insecurity issues in Nigeria, but we don't have insecurity issues everywhere in Nigeria. So the places where we don't have them, we should be able to highlight them and make them prosper. But to those places that have insecurity issues, they are quite significant because they are not just figures that we're talking about. A little while beginning talked about 172 kidnap cases, and those are the ones that have been reported. There are several that are not reported. So for the governors, what can they do to forestall this trend? You've talked about the fact that there is a need for, one thing or the other that they need to do. There are those who, I think it was even a governor, I think it was the governor of Kaduna State, I was talking about some of these crimes as commercial or economic crimes and not just insecurity just for the fun of it. Is there any way the state governments can bridge this gap? Particularly because they happen in localities. Is there a role also for local governments if duly, adequately empowered by the state governments?
Thank you very much. And I'm happy you referred to what your previous speaker said about it. And I think I began with that too, about the fact that, insecurity does not happen to all the parts of the country. It happens somewhere, it doesn't happen elsewhere. But my challenge with that kind of analysis, as I said earlier on, is that if you look at insecurity as a centrifugal force, then you can say, well, it doesn't happen everywhere. Maybe kidnapping is not happening in some states as it's happening in some other states. Maybe it's not happening in some states at all. Or you're thinking armed robbery is going on in state A, it's not going on in state B. But that is when you look at insecurity in terms of violence, that is naked violence, in terms of guns and bullets, in terms of kidnapping. But when you look at insecurity in a far more dynamic, perspective, a dynamic context, as energy insecurity, job insecurity, employment insecurity, food insecurity, all of which are sometimes far more devastating. And as well as they are being the backgrounds to the naked insecurity, which is just a mere manifestation you have, then you cannot actually try insecurity in the way that your previous speaker has tried it. You cannot do that. Because if a state doesn't have physical insecurity, it may have food insecurity, which is insecurity anyway. So the straight answer that I don't know a particular state in Nigeria today or a Nigerian community or society that is not experiencing one form of insecurity or another. I don't know, unless you're going to tell me. But moving beyond that is the fact that the level of insecurity might vary. Obviously, we do recognize that as a principle. And the question is, what can then the state government in those areas do? As I was saying, look, our governments need to get more creative. And unfortunately, and I'm sorry I have to say this, look, in countries that thrive, in countries that do very well for themselves, for their people, those countries are led by the finest minds in their generation. That is not our experience in Nigeria. The fact is that more often than not, I'm not saying, by the way, everybody knows, but I'm saying largely our political class is constituted by people who have been bereft of ideas and of intelligence and of knowledge to be able to drive their people forward. Because you've got to understand that, whether you like it or not, that is the foundation of the problem that we face. So I used to joke with my friends that, look, when we were in school, the very, very smart kid would sit in front of the class and the less smart would be at the back. That's how our teachers would group us in those days. Rightly or wrongly, I'm not judging. I'm not making a judgment call here. I'm just describing a scenario. Now, those who are very smart, you sit in front of the class, the teacher knows he wants to see you in front. And those who are less intellectually endowed, they'll push to the back. That's when we were in schools. But when we came out of schools, those who were at the back found themselves in national parliaments. They became lawmakers. They became governors. They became ministers. They became whatever they became at the end of the day. And those who used to be in forefront of the classrooms in those days, the smart ones, now went back. They became, something I don't want to describe on national television. They relegated to the background. And that is the problem that we face in Nigeria. Any society that you see that thrives today in Western world, let's go back to, even in China, go back to the Confucius years. we'll always start with philosophers. Where are our philosophers today in Nigeria? Philosophers think for the society. Philosophers' job is to interpret the society. The job of all of us is to then fulfill it. That is the point.
Okay.
Even if it's to go and study philosophy.
Prof, we need to wind down now. So I need to take your last word on this. So what next? Where are we headed? Or where should we be heading?
Thank you very much, Alero. Number one, the government must understand that Nigerians are angry and Nigeria are very, very hungry. And a hungry man is a very angry man. And of course, a woman as well. They should not take Nigerians too much for granted. I think Nigerians have been taken for granted by their government, like government recklessness and somehow cluelessness and somehow lack of sensitivity to Nigerian problems. Stop telling Nigerians about hope. We want to be hopeful, but start implementing things that will make us to be truly, truly hopeful. Government should embark on people-oriented, policies. We need food. Nigerians are not asking for too much at the end of the day. And every Nigerian just wants to be able to feed himself or herself, feed his own family, and be able to school them in an atmosphere devoid of this kind of level of insecurity that we have in the country. The disparity is getting too wide between the rich and the poor. Politicians should stop behaving like jerks, like people who are from the other planet. They are among us. They are people who we have elected into positions. They should behave responsibly and not this sense of lack of sensitivity. And that is part of the problem. Government should know that the people's patience cannot go on forever. At a point in time,
the people's patience is running thin. Thank you very much, Professor Demola Abbas, Professor of International Law. Thank you very much for joining us this morning.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Sunrise will return in just a moment with another interesting conversation. Do stay with us.
I don't know if you caught that bug as well on social media. Super Eagles, they para.
They para.
Oh, Jesus. Hey.
You were talking about social media. Did you see the girls in some university in their hostel?
There are 3 hostels that I saw.
3?
3. I think at least one of them is in the north. At least one of them, ABU.
Nothing to galvanize Nigerians like football. Why can't we be like that on all occasions and remember that we're all one?
I asked the guest once, the kind of thing that we had in sports, can we transfer it to governors?
Honestly.
So that is just...
I don't think anybody remembered where they were from when they were watching that match. What states or what religion or what?
Should I also shock you? Some people tried to bring it in. Said, Mwabali is an Igbo man. It's not an Igbo man.
Mwabali is a Nigerian.
Wait.
He caught the penalty kick for Nigeria.
Be calming down.
Okay, it's all right.
Someone said, okay, he's not from River, he's from River State. No. And someone said, he's from Port Harcourt. I said, okay. Another person now said, please, Port Harcourt is not a state. It's the capital of a state. Another person said, he's not from Port Harcourt City. He's from another town in River State.
Oh, dear. He's a Nigerian.
Can we just drop this guy already? Some very comical things that are happening, to be honest with you. But social media, I saw a video yesterday, I think it was last night, for Ghanaians. It's like Ghanaians are the ones that are at the butt of every joke. I saw a couple of guys, in Ghana, having a video log. I was saying, hey, how is it that we're not even in this AFCON, for God's sake? How are we the butt of every joke?
Well, we last won this cup, 10 years ago? Mm-hmm. Isn't it time we won it again? They should just cut us some slack now. Why are they beefing us?
No, you guys are too arrogant. Every small thing you say up Nigeria.
Yes, up Nigeria.
You
Why
guys
not?
are your young guy is too much.
And our president, there's rumor that our president is going to watch the final live tomorrow.
What I don't care who watches or who doesn't watch.
But you're not watching, Sha.
You people, I know. I will. Even if I was in that stadium, I will have my tablet with me.
Then there will be no point going to the stadium.
No,
Sit in your house then.
I would rather.
Yes, sit in your house, George.
There is, please, be thou one again. If you don't have the heart for palpitation,
don't watch it. It's not by force.
Enano,
Biko,
Makachoko,
Biko.
Sit down. Watch artist of the week is a musician. So watch that one, Enano. But please, let's have a conversation around the Super Eagles in AFCON 2024 with Michel Obi, Executive Vice Chairman, Master Sports International. He joins us virtually from Abidjan. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Yeah, bonjour, ça va?
Oui, ça peut aller mieux si on gagne demain.
That's the only grammar in this. That's the only French.
You wanted
grammar.
to speak French, huh? Did you understand me, Mitchell?
Yes, I was saying bonjour. Can you hear me well?
We can hear you well.
And I said, yes, we're fine and we would feel better if we won the match tomorrow.
I don't know about feeling better, but you've gotten to the end of the journey, and sometimes the journey itself can be more interesting than the destination.
All right. Let's begin this conversation, Mr. Obi. I mean, it's been quite a while. If you can, give us a history of where we are coming from as far as this particular CAF 2024 is concerned. What would be your updates? What are the things that the kind of story you want to tell about how far we have come thus far in the competition, and what are the things that brought us here, so to speak?
Simply because if I start the story, you may not really get to find it short. Let me say here that the Super Eagles today remain the only team unbeaten in this competition.
Whoa!
And that is the strength of the Eagles as far as this competition is involved. They have made their mark, progressing from a very lukewarm start to an exciting moment to where it matters. And for all those who want to really believe in the strength of the Super Eagles, they have found their rhythm at the point that everyone is excited. And they just have to deliver on what they've done so far. And as I said, they remain the only team unbeaten so far in the competition, and there are only two teams. You have the host. They've beaten the host before, and now they have the host to really go out there and settle. So it's a moment to cherish in terms of how many people didn't give them a chance. And of course, for the coach himself, who has come under the crucible of severe criticism over time. Here was a team you didn't get to know exactly what they will give on a given day. And they are now looking like they are different. But that's the makeup of the national team, especially when it comes to tournament. They surprise, they give you the promise, and more than anything else, Nigerians get to build into their energy. And so we are looking ahead to a team that has everything to deliver. And the big question is, this is a game they can't afford to lose. Indeed, some will say they are condemned to win.
Mitchell, I think we need to actually give the team applause from what you just said, that they are the only team that have been unbeaten in the entire tournament. I would like to clap for our team. Well done, guys. But the job is not over yet. We're all agog We're all waiting to see you all perform the magic again tomorrow. So you are there with them, Mitchell. I'm sure you've had chats with some of them. What is the spirit like in the camp now?
I don't want to use the cliche of say they are in high spirits. I want to believe that they mean business, because they came back after the game against South Africa and went straight into training in Abidjan. Today again they have a training session, and that tells us that these boys know where they are. And for some of them, it's an opportunity of a lifetime. If they don't get it right this time, it may be very difficult, especially given the makeup of African football these days. African football defies logic. We have seen in this competition a whole chain, a catalog of upsets and surprises. And even the team that is playing in the final today was already away from the competition. You talk about the Ivorians. They virtually resurrected. They were dead, they were buried, and some say they will use resurrection power against the Super Eagles. How that will be possible, it's a matter of conjecture. But one thing is sure, we will see a family final on Sunday, because the Ivorians know that if we beat them convincingly, they will accept and take it that a superior team has done the business.
Mitchell, I listened to Osaze, who was himself a member of the Eagles a few years ago, and he was saying that African football has come of age from his assessment of this year's tournament so far. What's your comment about that?
I think he has the right appreciation of African football today. In terms of organization, we are really coming close. In terms of the facilities, I think we are there. If you look at what the Ivorians have provided, almost $1 billion to get this AFCON on, and that is no small money these days where we are talking dollars. We're talking about $1 billion to really get on this AFCON. So the facilities, yes, world class, world standard, and the competition itself, the refereeing, this is the best quality of officiating you can get. Even individuals in the Premiership and in Europe are saying, if you want to look at the best of officiating, perhaps this AFCON will be a reference. And tomorrow, you have a referee from Mauritania, of all places, handling the final, with a lady from Zambia being a second assistant referee. That is the mix. Both men and women officials will give us something to cherish. There's been very, very few complaints about the quality of officiating, and for football, that is very key. And in terms of the comfort in the stadium, they have provided us with facilities you can't ignore. And the football itself has been a spectacle all around. Indeed, I've never seen a competition in which the last 15 minutes of every game, if you are a follower of an aficionado of the game, this is the kind of time you wait for the last 15 minutes. There's always one kind of drama, even when you think you have wrapped it up.
Okay, so I like the inclusivity angle. Definitely a long time coming. But what would be your take on it's just a few, let me just say, a little over, almost 48 hours, but hey, it's still quite some distance, maybe about 36 or so hours before the next match between Nigeria and, between the final match, the Elephants of Kano. Now, what are the things that Nigeria has to do? We've come thus far. There are those who would say maybe thinly. One goal here, a draw there, 2 goal stops, and all of those things. A very slim opportunity. Thank God for a very rock-solid team in the Super Eagles, some would say. What are the things that, from your own analysis, you've been doing this for many years, that we should be watching out for? But before you go there, you've seen Nigerian football, you've seen Nigerian national teams, from the Green Eagle days to the Super Eagles days. How would you rate this team compared to any other team Nigeria ever had?
Yes, let me say it's not a novelty if we get to win the AFCON. There is nothing new about that. we've had even a Nigerian lead out the team to win. And we've had even victories both home and away. So there's really nothing novel about the victory if it comes on Sunday. But one thing is sure, this team is beginning to play the kind of football many had long wished for. And we thought the coach was not the right, didn't have the right sense of our game. Now he's getting it right, and people are excited. For me personally, I am not particularly inspired by the absence of players who ply their trade at home not being part of this moment. We have a goalkeeper now who made his mark playing football in Nigeria before going just South Africa here for him to be recognized to come back to the national team. And that's what is missing in the mix. If we want to get our football sector viable, sustainable, we have to start looking inside. And even in terms of the coaches, it will have been totally more satisfying for me to see a Nigerian coach on that bench tomorrow, to see some players who apply their trade in Nigeria in the team. But as I say, when it comes to the best, we should provide our best. But we can find still our best from home. And that's what Wabali has shown, that if you look well, you will get to see how well you can provide a good team. In terms of analysis, we need to play the kind of game the Ivorians may not have an answer to, and that is to go all out for an attack. The strength of our attack has been perhaps what so many teams are scared of. When you have Osimhen, if you mark him out, you have a Moses Simon. If you mark Moses, you have a Lookman, and you can see from different parts of the country where they are coming from. And so that attack has been potent. And now we have a Terry Murphy who comes into a game and without even warming up, he takes the first critical penalty of his whole football life and scores. So there is power in that attack, and we have to use it well. In the last game, the coach made some changes that were not suiting. They caused a lot of pressure to Nigerians, and we can avoid that pressure. We don't want to see Nigerians dying because of tension. Let him avoid that pressure, because the Cote d'Ivoire team this time is not a solid team. It's not strong enough, and I think we can handle them because we have handled them before, and we have the ammunition. Cut them down. But
well, then, so perhaps, God forbid, that might be an undoing. Because, as Sashina Peter sang in a song many years ago, that it's the soldier ants that could bring down an elephant. Well, thankfully,
yeah.
we are super eagles and not elephants. So, we're not ants, yes. So that could be our undoing if we were to take it for granted, wouldn't you say?
The boys know they can't take it for granted. You are playing against the hosts. That stadium will be filled to the rafters. You are looking at a sea of heads that will be shouting only one song in yellow and white. And if you can't understand that as a football player, then you don't understand what it means to play in the final. They know what is at stake, so they can't take anything for granted. And they know if they go out there to score, they have to defend. And defend they must, because they've been the best defense so far in this competition, so they can hold their own. And so all round, my big worry is in the middle of the park. We've not had the players who can really hold the ball, give the needed passes to the attackers, control the game, and that is my worry. Alex Iwobi did that excellently against Angola, but against South Africa, he was neither here nor there, and we struggled to balance that middle part of the game. In this final, it's not a case of tactics anymore. It's a matter of heart. The players must have the heart.
Thank you for that.
They must have the heart for the final.
Thank you.
Finals are very ugly. Don't expect to see a beautiful game. They are very, very ugly. I've seen so many finals. In 1984, in this same country, I was here to watch the Green Eagles, led then by Chief Adegboye Odibide in Nigeria, the first ever Nigerian to take us to a final. I hope somebody somewhere is getting his thoughts on this competition so that the spirit can be positive. Just like the NFF president is going to visit the family of one of the Nigerians here who passed on when we watch. we need all the positive spirit to get us going. And the players have also shown good empathy. They are compassionate at this stage, and I think they know what Nigerians want. Nothing short of the trophy. But I don't know who will come and carry the trophy. We are told that the president will be coming to carry the trophy. That would be good. So they wouldn't even need to present it to him in Aso Rock if he's coming here.
So he's coming to collect it himself.
Mitchell.
Interesting. Well, Mr. B, just one or two other things to take you up on. Do you see the promises being made to the footballers as a distraction? There are those who say that, look, this guy, no one should make them any promises. Just let them play, and then you can give them whatever it is that you want to give them at the end of the day. That it is only natural that when you do something for your nation, automatically your nation rewards you. Do you see any value, positive value in the footballers being made promises to, which do you see it being distracting for them?
A promise is nothing until it is delivered. And I think that no matter how much you promise these players, it never gets to work. They don't, when you get on that pitch, it's not about money you're thinking about. You're thinking about the game itself. So, yeah it's good to give them the kind of comfort of the mind that, look, for what they are doing and what they will gain after doing what they are supposed to do, there is a fitting reward. Of course, that comes even with the business. For winning the Nations Cup alone, the players know that they can get to share $7 million. You don't even need to make any promise more than that. Look, there's this money waiting for you. I mean, as a country, we must also remember where these players are coming from, and we must reward them, because when it comes to their welfare, we don't have sufficient ornaments on the ground to really make their welfare worthwhile. We've seen so many of our ex-internationals get into a level which are not really, really comforting. So we believe that any promise that is made should be delivered, and of course, it may be a distraction in terms of how it gets there, but these are professionals. They play for the money. The money is the name of the game.
Yeah. So, Mitchell, what would you say to those who were crying for Peseiro's head before this tournament started?
Yeah, I'll tell Peseiro to clap for them, because they helped him to forge a winning direction. Many Nigerians were beginning to see a crab-like Eagles. They were of no shape. You couldn't get to say this is what they will give. But now we are beginning to see a team. I know, Arello, you can even pronounce the names of the players now. That's what we are saying. When you start building a team, you know, you can say defense, afcon, Ajayi, Aina. You know, this is what Nigerians were used to in the past. In 1980, you could reel out the names of all those who played. In 2013, you could do that. In 1994, you could do that. So when you have a team, everybody who is part of that team enjoys the light that comes from the star nature of their showing.
Absolutely.
So I want to be excited that Peseiro has learned his lesson, even though I don't think he will stay. I don't think he will stay.
But that's another conversation. That's another conversation altogether. Maybe get into a room with the president. Maybe some things will change. I don't know. But please don't comment on that for now. We can only wish our Super Eagles the best. Thank you so much for being a part of our conversation this morning. Michelle Obi is Executive Vice Chairman, Master Sports International Limited. Thank you and all the best. Do keep safe, please.
Okay.
Our regards to the team.
Let there be no tension, so that we don't have any grieving time ahead.
Amen. Amen to that.
Our regards to the team, and do let them know that the whole of Nigeria is behind them.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So, next item is about music. And music is one of those things that powers sports. But guess what? This is not about music for sports. It's about music for children. That's Up on Lifestyle when we return.
To avoid, if you lose a good woman, everything must
Thank you. you for staying with us. The fact that music evokes emotion is obvious. And not only does it make us feel happy, sad, or want to get up and dance, certain melodies are embedded in our memories. For instance, if you hear some theme music that was in some movie that you watched, once you hear that music again, your mind immediately goes back to that movie, or maybe how you felt when you were watching that movie.
Tales by Moonlight. I just remembered it. And then, sunny days sweeping the clouds away. All my day, can you tell me how to get to Sesame Street?
You done?
Oh, okay, yes. Please go ahead. Sorry.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
May I now introduce our guest?
Oh, you may.
Thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Abiodun Ibio is a music director. Good morning. And thank you for joining us this morning.
Welcome.
Now, healthy music for children. That, of course, tells us that there's also unhealthy music for children. Okay, which ones are the healthy ones? Okay. The one he just sang, for instance. Well, let's see, the one he tried to sing.
The one I remembered, please. I just remembered it. People should not put me in trouble before I'm dragged on social media. You were trying to answer the question.
All right, okay.
On social media.
Before we start mentioning maybe particular music or genre, we're talking about children.
Yes.
And when we talk about children, we cannot in any way overlook their development. So what music does to their brain in helping their development. So whatever music that I would term healthy is what helps that brain development positively.
Okay, so please pause. We had a coach here before who told us that even when they are in their mother's stomachs, that they can hear what you say, they can listen to music. You play some kind of music and you can actually feel them. It's as if they're dancing in there. Their movements is like dance movements. Is that really true?
Yes, because, like I was talking about brain development, yes. At that point in the womb, they are about developing too. So music help in forming, like when you go to gym physically. So that's what music does to the brain, to the forming the muscles in the system. So when that sound is being played, the right sound, it resonates with them. For instance, the kind of sound, the kind of genre, the kind of music that will resonate with the infant is a bit different to the early child, they have the infant, early childhood, and middle age, and adolescence. So you can't play heavy music, fast tempo music, and expect them to respond. Sometimes you can even scare those infants with such energetic music. So that's why when they are infant like that, you play songs like lullaby, soft music.
Soft.
That's what their brain can still. Just like gymming, you can carry how many kg and later it develops. So at that time, they can't handle that. So that's why when they're in the womb, they're still forming to this music sound is a major thing in child development.
This is very, very important
to pay attention to.
Yes, it's very important to pay attention to because some adults just love music, so to speak. So whether the child is an infant or whatever,
they are playing
their own music, not
in the house where the child is.
So how do we what? So you're saying that is a wrong thing to do?
Unfortunately, it's like something that will always be because we're in a family. And the parents, like you said, I remember growing up, I used to wake up with one barista music by our neighbor. Early in the morning from like 5:30, we'll start blasting the music. So, and we wake up, I remember that when I wake up, I feel so angry, I feel tired. Yes, I feel tired, thank you. I did not know at that time until I started doing this, and I remember, I'm like, okay, so this was what this music was doing for me that I didn't even know. So now, if that happens in the family, of course, there's not okay, my parents are not playing the music at home, but my neighbor. So that's why if parents will help the kids to also get away from that, they should be intentional and deliberately play music that resonates, that is suitable for their children every time, especially when they are learning, especially when they are playing. For instance, what we call as adults as play, children is not play, it's serious business. Play, what we say play. That's why music is really good for them, because music is like play. So play is a business. Play is not another time to rest or to do something different from, we call it extracurricular. Curricular is fine, yes, but that they are longing, they are looking forward to go and play. See them, they can play from morning to night, they don't get tired. But let them come and read. After a while, they get tired. Have you ever thought of why it's like that? Because children are wired to, they have energy. So music is that thing that makes them play too, because you play. What do you call it? You play music.
Now, I don't know how to put this question, so I'm just going to put it anyhow. I don't know how many adults can resist watching Tom and Jerry right now, and that's silly music that they play to it. And virtually every children's music, videos, and all those things, they have that kind of
elements.
Those kinds of elements, music elements. Is there a reason for that?
Well, I usually say this to my children and their parents because somehow we run music academy, and one of the things I do is to make sure that we meet with parents from time to time. So I tell them, all adults, we are pretending children. We are all children somehow. There's a child in every one of us. But because we now have the big body, we are grown, so the society makes us feel that we can't express something. That thing is there. Because music is play, energy is, something is coming to you and is winding you up, and there's no way you can resist that, because you want to play too. It's just that now I'm adult, I have to be cautious. I can't be doing this. I'm not a baby. But the truth is that once that kind of music is played, it's just like this music that will make you sad. There's nobody who can resist such music. An artist, this guy that just died, I love. There's one of his lyrics that I really take serious. He said, music does not take permission to enter anybody's system. So if it's a sad music, it should enter and resonate. If it's music that should make you to be, that's why some music are not good when you're driving. High tempo. So when they're high tempo, you should see those songs. But you just realize that you're already edgy, because your muscle starts responding unconsciously. And
then your leg begins to love the accelerator.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's what, because children, they don't have restriction in expressing themselves. That's why it seems as if it's for them. If it's something that we can't resist, we are all children somewhere inside of us. That's why it's like that.
Okay. Now, we're asking the question around healthy music for children because, as you said, it has a huge role to play on their development. Yeah. Unfortunately, as you also said, everyone loves music. So long as it is music, everybody loves it. So long as it moves the body, everyone loves it. But I also have this belief, this is me, saying that music is a kind of coding system. it conditions people's thinking long term. You talked about music and driving now. I have this hypothesis in my head that if you listen to certain kinds of music, you will drive in a certain kind of way all the time. If you listen to reggae music, for instance, there is a way you will drive. If you listen to Fuji music, certain kinds of Fuji music, there is a way you will drive. If you listen to Juju music, if you listen to pop, there's a way you will drive. If you listen to Afrobeat, there's a way you will drive. For children as well, it's similar, isn't it? So you are saying that there are certain kinds of music that children should not be allowed to listen to.
Yeah.
How do we avoid that?
So how to avoid that, I'll say we must understand that children are meant to develop, and whatever development we're talking about has to do with their brain. So it doesn't matter the genre now. It could be any genre at times, but depending on the level, if, like I mentioned, the stages of, so if we are looking at infants, please play the right music, like lullaby, slow music, classical kind of music.
Classical?
Yes. Slow music, slow tempo music, lullaby, they are soft. They help them to now
relax.
When we get to the early child, I think that's about between age 2 to 6. So now you are looking at a bit of rhythmic music, because at that time, what should develop in their brain is their motor sense, skill, their coordination, moving of their hands. So music that are more rhythmic, that's how you have. So because they need to move, so that they can learn that coordination, because we want them to grow accordingly. Like
the one that I was singing the other time that somebody was jealous, Sesame Street song.
Because such music, because of the rhythm. And that's why a lot of time, if you look at African children, because our music are so rhythmic, when it comes to motor skill, African children are really strong in that area, because our music are sort of kind of rhythmic in nature, so we can coordinate, we can do all those things easily. So when we get to, okay, after there's a middle age now at that time they want to start being expressive. We can now combine all of, from the slow music, more rhythmic music. Now some lyrics are coming in now, because now they want to express more. Then when we get to adolescence, then the lyric, the text, because now they're understanding, like now they're even thinking they are already an adult. You know, I think that's age between 12 to 18 or thereabout.
Not a kid anymore.
Yes. So they've had some experiences that probably we think they don't have. They have that we think is little to them. Their friend is not greeting them in school anymore. So that's where you see they sing songs that has to do with maybe live. They like lyrics of songs that has to do with what's like happening, like narrative in nature that tells kind of story of what they can relate with or what is happening in their lives. Mm-hmm. So now, if you are going to be doing music, like where I'm a music director, by God's grace, I select music that they can relate with. In fact, you can't give them songs. I don't come and just say, okay, this song we are doing. They will not take the song from me. I bring the song, we talk, we deliberate on it. I will have to let them reason. Okay, I will have to show them what is in it for them, why the song is good for them. Okay, wait until they say that, okay. Now it allows me to express myself. People will see me because they want to be seen at that time. They want to be stars at that time. They want to be on the spotlight at that time. So anything that you do with music should be tailored around what their need is, not just throw anything at them. Because it will just
what I have gathered from what you just said is that the kind of music you play for a child changes as the child grows.
Sure. Yeah.
Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. So, when they are still babies, what kind of music is best suited?
So, like I said, if you're talking about infant, that's about age 0 to 2.
Yeah.
So at that time, you notice that the songs that are suitable are more of lullaby, slow kind of music, because what they do more at that time is eat, sleep.
And he also says classical.
Yeah, because classical music gives you that.
But some are reacting to music already when they are 2, when they hear music.
Like there will always be exceptions, to this thing. Like my daughter, 3 years, I'm always afraid she should not hear that song. We got somewhere yesterday and the person was just swiping the phone and this song just jumped out just for about maybe 3 seconds, twerk. And just like 5 minutes later, I just was hearing her singing the song. I don't play that song. We don't play it at home. We don't play it. I don't play that kind of song around my kids. I just heard Heavenly singing to her. And that thing was just for a fraction of a second that she heard it. She picked it up. So it's too much for her. You won't expect her at that age. She's just 3. And she already, like you said, there will be some exception, but largely for that age, they want to sleep, eat, so you give them music.
So why do certain songs trend with children? For instance, Alaji. Some children, they sang that song. Then, Joe Mape, come on to tap it back in time.
It's playful. It's play.
Playful.
Yes.
For as long as the song is playful.
As long as it's playful.
Good.
And some rhythm in it that makes them to move, jump.
Do you think those songs are... Okay, maybe I should make it... let me not look at it. Let me speak productive. Do you... What would you say to musicians, music makers, the big boys who are making music for adults? They don't make songs for children, do they?
No.
So... help me beg them.
Well,
perhaps because that's not really commercial, right?
Yeah, you just answered it.
But they make some unwittingly that resonate with children, and children
not deliberate, not because they wanted to, because like you said, it's not commercial, it's business for them.
There are people who are making nursery rhymes.
Yes,
that's for children.
So there are people. Mostly people who does that are more of scholars. You get that because they are the one that knows the elements to
the right elements in the music for children.
And because they are disciplined now, they are focused on the lyrics too. That will help the child develop. Basically, my own advocate, what I advocate for is children are meant to develop, and it's basically brain development. So cognitive helps their motor skill, helps their coordination. It helps children to be disciplined.
Forgive me, Mr. Ibio. As Salero said, these adults, music makers, were once children. The Davidos, the Wizkids, our next guests, Danny Young, the Burna Boys, all of them, they were once children who enjoyed some of these things that, the Michael Jacksons and all. The fact, it's almost as if Michael Jackson, left this world with some regret when he did that song, Where Is My Childhood? So some people weren't really allowed to be the children that they're supposed to be because of these things that you're talking about. Now, we know that children music may not be, what's the word now, commercially viable. Yeah. But there's some kind of social service, wouldn't you say? Do you see an opportunity for the most prominent music makers in the world to at least collaborate with maybe scholars, deliberately make songs for children?
Yeah, let me take it from the artist that you mentioned. I'll start by saying that everybody has, so to say, there's a calling. So if it's not their calling, they won't do it. Even with the adult music they do, some has even the kind of songs that they also produce that you will know that this is the kind of song to expect from Burna Boy, the kind of music to expect from Davido and the like. So everybody has even the scholars, some people are not even making music for children.
And if it's not commercially viable,
of course, we've established that it's not commercially viable and it's not their calling. So,
but my director was singing some songs into my ears, and which really went well. Fumi Adams. There was this Princess Olajubu or something like that. But what's her name now? Christy Esienibokwe, and such musicians are all over the nations at the time. Jimmy Sholanke literally, lived his life until he died for children. There was this other guy, Wale something, Animal Farm.
Animal Farm.
Yes, Wale something was his name. Uncle Wale is what they called him on national television back in time at the time. So these people spend their life, they were adults, they spend their lives doing that because parents are busy these days. The options of music for children are very, very limited.
Yeah.
That's why we are talking about healthy music for children. How do parents source those things and focus on those things? What many parents do this is just put on YouTube and go to the kitchen. There are commercials on the this thing on the channel, especially when you're unable to subscribe for premium.
So let me quickly pick it from the artist you mentioned. Like, it's like one of my heart cry, majorly for me, dealing with children and music. Music is my tool. I love to do whatever I'm doing around them. I'm happy around them, no matter how stressful. Even if they are 300, they are stressing me. I'm stressed, but I'm happy around them. Like my project, my final year project was actually tailored around that. Now, you talked about those artists singing songs like that. Don't forget that our culture is literally changing. The westernization is really taking a toll on what we used to believe and how we used to act. Those days, our culture, it focuses on family, marriage, children are very important. Even those days, the likes of Sonia, when they sing their song, is in stages. They start by singing praises before they go to their other things. It's structured. But now, the value to pay attention to the children is actually fading away because of westernization. Now, you mentioned also about how would parents pay attention to that. It's one of the things that I discussed during my project, that scholars really need to step up, because go online, if they deliberately go there, you still see some nursery rhymes and all that they can't pay attention to. I have reads for my kids, so that they should deliberately make sure that is what they play for their children. But for African music, like you mentioned, we don't have it readily available like the Western nursery rhymes yet, which I believe a lot of scholars are really looking into it. It will take time, but I believe it will happen.
Don't you think it has taken too long already?
Yes,
we still have some of those children's songs in Africa now.
Yes.
None comes to my brain right now, but we have.
Yes.
And there are such songs all over the nation. Yes. All over the nation. That, these options are there.
But so, it looks like those were from back in the day.
Yeah.
There are no musicians who are doing that these days.
But we can't come from there. Because those are songs that teaches morals, discipline, and there are some certain messages to them. And if you look at even the rhythm, the rhythm helps more than even apart from what the lyrics is also doing. Because Africa is reading it, some of these songs, sometimes, even those days, that thing I just forgot now. He doesn't have that sensible lyrics like that. They will call it nonsensical, but the rhythm, just like play. But because it focuses on play at that time, and it helps children to grow and develop very well. But these days, it's no longer like that. But we are looking into it. I'm also working on some things.
Especially because we know you're also a songwriter. One last thing, what would you be telling parents right now, watching you and wondering themselves at a loss? Things aren't getting easier. The options for music are so vast and diverse now. And it's back in time, we could regulate music on traditional media. But now it's a lot difficult because even the media space has been totally liberalized with social media, YouTube, and all those things. So people can put their music on those platforms without any kind of regulation, so to speak. So what would you be telling parents now? How can they be intentional given the difficulty that they have?
I don't think it's something really hard. Like the way we have all of these songs that are not children friendly. We also have songs that are children friendly. They should just be deliberate. I do it. I have songs. I have channels. Let them be deliberate. Download songs that is good for their children.
Okay, you also talked about the one that your children listen to for 3 songs and stock. Anyway.
So, but out of the abundance of their heart, if they feel their children enough with that kind of music, they will grow with it. Then again, they should enroll their children. Let them participate in music. It's very important. That will also help them appreciate the music that is good for children.
Yeah. Music director Abiodun Ibiyo, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
We shall try and be deliberate about the music we play when there are children around.
Thank you, ma.
Thank you very much for coming.
Okay.
We'll be back shortly with the home stretch. I don't want you to sing. Thank you very much.
Our taste of the week this morning is a young man called Ajibola Danladi. He's a music maker and a producer and all those other English. Let me just bring him on for you. Guess what he is called? Danny Young. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Good morning, sir.
Unfortunately, we don't have any drum rolls yet.
Ajibola what?
Ajibola Danladi.
Olumuyiwa Danladi.
Okay.
He's
all right.
a Nigerian.
It's all right. Also, it's all right. Okay. That's what we were talking about when we were talking about football.
Yeah.
He's a Nigerian. Okay.
How was navigating to get here?
It was crazy, trust me. First off, navigating towards Terminal Bridge from Ikoyi was hell. But we managed to get on that road, and at the end of the day, we saw it was blocked by police vans and everything. So we had to navigate through Costain, through Ikorodu Road. Through Onyibo.
To get to Ikorodu Road.
Well, thank God we're here.
I just wanted the viewer to know what it cost you to be here for us. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome, sir.
You've been in the music industry for a little while. Tell us a little about your journey.
Basically, I've been in the music industry for over 19, 20 years. I was fortunate to get into music at the age of 16. I had my first major break at the age of 16. It's been a great journey. I started from the church, just like everybody say. Yeah, but the difference between me and probably a lot of other artists that started from the church was I was a music person. I was a music director. I play the piano. I do music production. And, it made it very easy for me to navigate into music proper because, I already understood the rudiments and the technicalities of, music. And at the end of the day, when I got signed for my first record label, Big Deal Entertainment in the US, it made it easy for me because I was living in a state, Ondo State, where music was really not, entertainment was really not, you understand? But, we had to believe that, for you to make music, you have to move to Lagos and everything. So I moved to Lagos. I remember the first day I got to Lagos and I landed on the Ojota Bridge. I was seeing crowd, buses, yellow buses. I was like, how does it go take do for this place? Like, how do you navigate? Like, if you turn to the right, where will you get to? If you go to the left, where would you navigate?
So you had no particular destination in mind?
Sorry, no definite.
Whoa.
But Lagos, Lagos will make you, Lagos will break you, but I chose the path.
Lagos will borrow you sense.
Yeah, well, it's been an amazing journey.
And where was your first, consider this part of your documentary, where was your first bus stop? Where was the first place you landed from Ojota?
The first place I landed after Ojota was before Ojota. Let me put it that way. I landed in Ojota, but I was going to Omole.
Oh.
Do you understand? Yeah.
So you had passed Omole.
I'd passed my bus stop. So, I had to find my way back to Omole, Yes.
And to a music person's house or something?
No. Actually, the house was supposed to be the house for my label. Okay, this is how it started. I was in school, secondary school, right? And I had a friend which I produced. Shout out to B10. It was like one of our biggest stars, those days there locally. Yeah. So I had produced him. I would sneak out of school to go to the studio. My parents didn't want my parents were music people, but they don't like, They don't like, this was the generation whereby, yeah, if you do music, they see you like you're not serious or you understand. So doing music for me was very, I know if I go out, I'll come back, they go flog me. That one is sure, but I just have to go first, So this guy came to call me and say, okay, the label wanted to sign him. So I came there with him, and at the end of the day, it became a blessing in disguise. They signed me first before they signed him. So then they told my parents, they said they wanted to meet my parents because I was underage, right? I was not 18 yet, so I could not sign legally for myself. So they had to meet my parents. My parents said, okay, he has to go to school. You have to get him an apartment. He has to have a guardian. He has to have a manager and everything. So, all these rules becomes too much for a label that they want to drop you. So by the end of the day, they promised my father that they were going to get me an apartment, but they did not get me an apartment. So I got to Lagos. I was staying with my uncle. Shout out to Uncle Bumi. He works in Chevron.
They couldn't have given you an apartment because you were underage.
I was underage.
You weren't going to be able to live alone.
Yes. No, but I said and to get me a guidance.
Okay, right? To live with you.
Yeah, to live with me.
Okay.
So I was staying with my uncle for 2 years, and they did not know. My parents did not know because you understand, it's against the understanding that they had. But I did not tell my parents anything. I was just there, trying to survive. Sometimes I would not eat from morning till night, not because my label could not cater for me, but because, it's Lagos now. Sometimes what you get as, your monthly would not really serve you all through. And, I just had to survive because sometimes you have to go do promotions, go to this radio station here. And I was new in Lagos. I didn't even know my way around everywhere, So it was really a challenging one.
But as they say, the rest is history. And here you are now.
But in the course of the journey, you must have met some people who mentored you and whom you mentored.
Yes.
What were those influences that you had and that you have made?
Okay, thank you, sir. Basically, I think for me, it was like a different journey, Before I came into music, like I said, I've been doing music production. I mean, these were things that at that time it was really scarce for you to see like a young boy doing music production. And this time I was talking about the era before the computer, before we started using like Reason, Cubase, Logic and stuff. This was like when we use analog and stuff. So I had already, been doing like music technicality like proper. So when I go into music, I just wanted to do what I'd already been, trying to do back home. So, but I didn't grow up in Lagos, so it was new. Everything was strange for me in Lagos. I didn't have friends. I didn't have industry friends. So until I started becoming popular, when I go to events, I started now meeting like colleagues. Then I started building my own network. You understand? So it was different from like a Lagos artist that went to school in Lagos, knows people in Lagos, and
easier to move around.
Yeah, exactly. So but for me it was different.
Now, I read an interview. You wanted to...
Yes. Okay. So, what was the first work that you put out?
The first work that I put out was in 2006. It's called Welcome to My Party, featuring Lord of Ajasa. Lord of Ajasa is an indigenous, the first indigenous rap, musician in Nigeria, rapper, let me put it that way. So I featured him on that song. That was in 2006. The first song I released under the platform of the label that signed me at that time. So he came out in September, and before February, it became like everywhere. There was a station then called Channel O. I don't know if you remember, of South Africa. That was like the height of, each Channel O plays your song, you are made. So he made the top 10 on Channel O. It was nominated for Channel O awards in South Africa. So that was like the beginning for me, basically.
And how many collaborations? How much did that affect or impact on other collaborations for you?
Yeah, it really opened the way for me, because a year after that, my contract ended with the label. Then I had to move on my own, start my own label, Beat Killer Records, with my crew. And, we started to push my own music. And, that song kind of helped me to, make the kind of connect that I needed for myself to start my own journey, and the people in the media and everybody, and that really helped me, and
there's a question we should have asked you. One of Alera's favorite questions.
Yes.
How did you eventually market yourself to mommy and daddy? I'm almost certain that they are watching, or they will watch this in time.
Okay, then it was way easier. I mean, it was easy for me because, like I said, I'm from a music family where music runs. Everybody in my family loves music. But like I said, the most important thing is you have to go to school and do, and be well guided. There was a time whereby, if you cannot be seen with smoking cigarette, like smoking, but today you have seen every music video, it's become like a norm, nobody cares.
Do you smoke now?
No, I don't smoke.
Even if you did, you would, because I'm sure your mother is watching.
Oh my God. So, when everything happened, it was like, they were happy for me, but it was not strange, because they know I'd always had that stuff.
Now, we're going to get to the part where you did a song that all of a sudden everyone is affiliating with the Super Eagles. We'll get to that one. But, you at some point, you had an interview, spoke to some people where you said that, talking about your influences on some prominent artists. Now, you want to tell us about that?
Okay. Is it about the Ashake?
Yeah.
Basically, then I was just, I remember I was in France, I think France or something, Paris, yeah. I was just, talking to my friends. We were just, listening to some Nigerian artists, and, I was just happy, about the growth of Afrobeat and how far we've come. And so people were trying to talk to me and say, oh yeah, this sounds like you, this artist sounds like you. I was like, it's been a long time coming, and before these guys came out, they were listening to some people first. So I am happy that I had been able to influence these guys in ways to have been able to take it further than where I took it, So
was that statement misunderstood?
To some people, social media is crazy. They don't give you the full package. They just edit what they want to talk about, and they put it out, and everybody starts to talk.
Okay.
So some people in the comment section, they know the truth and they said the truth. While some people who feel otherwise, they say, well, it doesn't matter, I don't care. We move on,
Okay. Now, tell us about your career trajectory in the past 5 years and what to expect from you in the next 5.
Okay, so basically, in the last 1 year, I've been really working, effortlessly, for my new projects. Last year, November, I put out a record called Afro Rhythm, a spanking video, You know, we shot the video in Colombia and Mexico. People going crazy for the song and the video because it's like it's different from the norm. Do you understand? Like different from the norm in terms of the way it sounds. It's not like the regular Afrobeat music. It's like international sound, right? So when we put it out, before we put it out, I was scared. Like, I hope these people will like this type of music because, you know, everybody likes the bag kind of thing. But I just wanted to sound different, you know, and, you know, give people, you know, rich music, you understand? So I put it out and I was happy about the you know, the way people feel about it. The video came out at the end of November and it became, you know, high rotation on every TV station. So basically that's for that. And after then, December, we dropped the Watch Out for this brand new song that we just released, Para. Yeah, then last week we dropped the official single. It came out and it's been topping the charts. You know, just 4 days ago it became, it got into top 100 on Shazam charts, on Apple Music chart. You know, it's been crazy. You know, the perception, the way people have been receiving it. I mean, beyond my expectation. So,
yeah, but you know, talk us about that the Para song and what is it about the song that made people love it so much? What part of it resonates in a way that people are now, you know, affiliating with the Super Eagles?
Yeah, to be honest, I don't even know. I just found out that okay, Super Eagles scored or they won the match, or I think it was at the first half of the previous match, you know, and I just started seeing on my timeline, like I just seen my song and they already designed the logo for it, Super Eagles the Para, because the title of the song is Para. So I see Super Eagles the Para, then the song on the background. I was like, wow, like what's going on here? You know, then in the camp too, in the Super Eagles, AFCON, wherever, some of the players played it, you know.
Whoa.
Yeah, and I was like, wow, like this is what social media does, you know. You know, before I knew it, the thing became viral and people started using it on their status, you know. Yeah, but it was crazy.
How does that make you feel?
Yeah, I mean, good, happy, you know, most importantly because my song is even associated with success, you know. The song Para, you know, talks about, you know, like, I'm angry, I'm motivated, I want to do this, you know.
You don't want grief for
I don't want grief for anybody. 2024, you understand? So Super Eagles no grief, you know, and, you know, yeah, it's a good one.
Now, that also now lends to one conversation, the fact that, you know, it is possible for things to just go in a particular direction that you don't even anticipate it. I've been in music library, broadcast music library, and some artists will come and say, this is the hit song. Meanwhile, there's a better one that he didn't see. What's up with that?
Well, the way I see it is, you know, sometimes you as an artist can never know what song people are going to like.
Very true.
One thing about most artists is we are unfortunate about something. We have a lot of psychophants around us. You know, psychophants in the way of they just want to please you. They want to tell you, oh, this is good. Whereas
what you think you want to hear.
Yeah, what you want to hear, what makes you happy, you know. Yeah, but so at the end of the day, you as an artist first should be able to tell yourself the truth. You know, to know, is this good for me? Is this not good for me? That's one. Then secondly, like you need to seek like public perception, you know, opinion about your song. Sometimes when I want to put out a record, I go to places, I just stay in the car, tell someone to give me the DJ, just play. Then I just watch the crowd. If I see nobody is moving, or I just humble myself, I gotta keep that in the fire. But the fact now remains that song not good enough for that time might be better for another time.
Wow.
You know, so, you know, there are certain songs that people have had like 5-6 years ago, and it's still very much relevant today.
Absolutely.
You know, whereas there are some songs that people are doing right now that cannot even stand the test of time, even for the next 10 years.
Absolutely. Very
so
correct.
it just depends.
Now, quick one before we exit. You know, I want you to speak to that issue that we raised earlier about healthy music. It just so happens that we're talking about music today. You know, a music artist here when we spoke about healthy music for children earlier. Talk to us about that. You know, growing up, a good number of artists today themselves, they had the privilege of listening to music that was healthy and all of that. But it seems like these days it's difficult. I mean, you really literally have to struggle to get clean music, so to speak. What do you think is responsible for that? Do you think it can be reversed?
I think this comes with generation. Let me say, you know, from generation to generation, something new gets introduced. A new generation comes with what they want, their own values, their own beliefs, just like they have something now they call the Gen Z, you know, the Gen Z generation. They come with their own belief. Whatever you tell them, they don't care, they just want to, you know. So, and I think that influences the artists, musicians, productivity. You know, I came from an era whereby, you know, we go under big, like they scrutinize us. Yeah. When you have a song, the librarian has to listen to the lyrics. Is it making sense? Yes. Not, you know, that's when you had songs like people talking about social, you know, vices, like songs that
preach social values, morals, and all those
morals
things.
And everything. Those were the type of music that were selling at that time. Because the producers and the people who were signing and recruiting those artists were interested in those type of values. You understand? But now it's different. Now people are just interested more in making money and, you know, and trending and, you know, commercialization.
Well, you know,
so it's a good and a bad thing, you know. Yeah, things evolve, you know, and it's a time whereby
I hope you can evolve back to the time where we can say, okay, you know what, we can actually get good music from musicians. We have to thank you this morning for being here this morning, because I mean it's something we looked forward to, and we are grateful that you were able to make it here today. Ajibola Olumiwa, also known as Danny Young. You have a new song out now. You call it Para.
Yes.
And it's out already?
Yes, already. That's the one, the Super Eagles.
Okay, and the music music video is not out yet?
The music video is under post-production.
Okay.
It should be out in about a week from now.
All right.
And it promises to be massive.
Okay. I'm gonna wait for one that we can play on this show. Well, that's the show this morning. I'm sorry. My colleague needed to take a break. Alero Edo has been here. I'm Ayo Makinde. Please do have a splendid and a fabulous weekend. And please do me a favor. Do yourself a favor. Support the Super Eagles. The best and safest way you can. See you after the football.